As far as unnecessary sequels go, this might take the cake. How's it, everybody? Welcome back to Tamba Takes Reviews. My name is Sean Tamba. This is where I give you my take. If you're a fan of movie reviews, top 10 lists, TV show reviews, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell to get notified for new content. Don't Breathe 2. I had no clue this was even being made. I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, there's a second one? I really liked the first one. I thought the first one was awesome. The tension in that film was done brilliantly. Having this blind guy kind of fend against these people who broke into his house, but then they flip it, and he's not the greatest person either. That was like a really good original thriller slash horror movie. And the twist at the end, spoiler alert, what the So now we have the sequel, and it's really difficult for a film to have the antagonist of the first one become the protagonist of the second one, because he's such a bad guy in the first one, and you figure out what he's doing, and now you want us to cheer for him. So I was really intrigued on how they were going to go about this. They do, to some extent, figure out how to do this, and that is by involving this young girl, and when she's in trouble, he is her last hope. The problem, obviously, behind this is how he came into her possession, or I should say how she became into his possession. And that's what you gotta ask yourself when you watch this film. Is it enough for us to forget what he is? So let's start off with the good stuff. Bruh, that's cherry. For the first 45 minutes, there's a scene where these bad guys come in and want to take this little girl. And the tension that is built in this sequence is actually great. It reminded me a lot of the first one. There's also a very long 2, 3, 4 minute sequence of one long camera shot, and we're watching this young girl kind of evade these attackers quietly because she knows the house better than they do. She does little things to get them to go and kind of set them off course, and I really enjoyed it. It was a phenomenal choreographed scene, and that's like in the beginning of this tense sequence where these guys are trying to get her and they're trying to like attack this guy. So very well done. First 45 minutes, I loved it. It was actually quite shocking because, again, our main guy is this bad guy from the first one, but we're sort of hoping that he comes through for this little girl. When that sequence is over, it's almost like we hit the off switch. They try to deep dive into the backstory of this little girl, and I'm gonna get into spoilers a little down the road here, but they try to throw in this family dynamic for everyone involved, and that's where we start the negatives. Bruh, that stinks. So we get to the second half of this film, and it's, like I said, different. The tone is different, and what they do is they try to make these other people worse than our main guy. And to an extent, I want to say they're still kind of on equal plane. But for us as the audience, we know that our main guy cares about this young girl and wants to save her. But these bad guys, they're not the greatest actors. The dialogue is a bit corny. They try to throw in some twists and turns. I think once there's a certain character that comes on screen, you kind of figure out what's about to happen. And then they throw in a good bad guy who has a conscience. The pacing comes to a halt after that whole intense sequence. It's kind of like a dull 15-20 minutes after that. And then finally we pick back up towards the conclusion. But the conclusion is very easy. It's very, I don't want to say predictable, but a little bit predictable. There was a laugh out loud moment for me. Anytime a character basically realizes they're in danger and they're like, nah, hell no, and tries to bounce, I think that's funny because I think it's so realistic in a situation like this, and they had that in there. So now I'm gonna go into spoilers. If you wanna skip ahead, I'll have the timestamp of when you can come back. If you wanna just hear what happens in the movie and you're not gonna watch it, here we go. So the big twist, which comes almost immediately after in the middle, is that these guys who are hunting and come and attack this guy and want the girl, it's her father. And then they capture her, they take her, and now all of a sudden her mom is there. I find it very convenient how this all went down. So apparently this little girl was in a fire, and our main guy saved her afterwards from this fire. The dad, I believe, went to jail. He's out of jail, and for 3 months, so he's out of jail. In the beginning of this film, we learn that the little girl doesn't really get to go out into the real world. She's kind of held captive by this guy. So again, that's another thing. He's already made look bad again, but he's caring for her, but he won't let her do anything. But on the off chance, this woman comes who buys his plants and is like, if you keep her here, she's gonna just rebel on you. So he reluctantly lets her go. And it had been 3 months since she was able to leave with this woman. I guess it's like a little friendship thing. And on the off chance, for 3 months she hasn't come, but the off chance that she decides that she gets to go today, they stop by her parents, her old house, and her dad is just there in the shadows. She doesn't see him. So that was very convenient. Then we get to the second act of this film and we find out that her mom is alive, even though her dad kind of told her she might be dead. But she's sick and she needs a new heart. Do you see where I'm going with this? The mom and the dad want their daughter's heart and they want to do a heart transplant. That's the big kind of twist in this movie. But again, you kind of know that it's not gonna work, right? You know the guy is gonna come to save her. So the tension that they had in that first 40 minutes is not really existent in the second half of the film, and that's really the biggest disappointment I have. And no, I do not think there will be another one. They just don't go too much into our main guy and how bad of a guy he was. They try to do it at the end where he says, I'm a terrible person, I've done all these things, trying to make it for us as the audience to kind of feel bad for this guy, and you don't. You hope for the little girl. And so what they did, making this little girl kind of the thing that he's protecting, makes you want him to succeed because this little girl is like, innocent and whatnot. So that's a good job that they did, but I still personally didn't feel bad for this guy when he was getting hurt and whatnot. You just kind of know that he's not gonna get to the point where he's gonna fail. If you're here, you skipped the spoilers. My final grade for Don't Breathe 2 is gonna be a B-. You can watch this if you're bored, but again, an unnecessary sequel. Great first half, mediocre second half. That's gonna do it for the take today. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of Don't Breathe 2, and I'll catch you guys next time. Shoots!